What you're looking at right now is a Zillow listing. It has a price. It has an address. It has a listing agent's name at the bottom. You could call that number right now. You could schedule a showing. You could make an offer before this video ends. Nobody has. These are not abandoned buildings. These are not properties behind chain link fences. These are active, legal listings on real estate platforms that millions of people scroll through every single day. Some of them have had their prices cut so many times that what they're asking now makes no logical sense. Some of them have histories that no listing description has ever fully disclosed, and every single one of them has a reason it won't sell. Today, we go through that reason out loud. Listing 1, Orchardon Castle, Scotland. We begin somewhere that looks so specifically like the setting of a horror film that the first time I came across it, I genuinely assumed someone had made it up. Orchardon Castle, Solway Coast, Scotland. Grade B listed, officially recognized by the government as a building of significant architectural and historic interest, protected under preservation law. Over 40 rooms, 4 floors. Built originally in the 1700s as a mansion for a man named Robert Maxwell, then rebuilt into its current looming stone fortress form in 1880. The listing price represents a significant discount from what a property of this scale should command, and the listing description itself uses language I have rarely seen in a real estate document. It says the previous owners are, quote, more than ready to part with it. Let's talk about why. The castle has more than 30 working fireplaces. That sounds like a luxury feature until you understand the reason every single one of them has been maintained in operational condition. The castle is cold in a way that no heating system has ever been able to fully address. Inspectors, estate agents, surveyors, and prospective buyers who have spent time inside this building have independently reported the same experience. Cold spots that exist in specific areas of the property that do not respond to heat sources and that appear to move between rooms. The 40-foot drawing room. The wood-paneled music room, the L-shaped hallways on the second floor where, and this is from an official property survey, shadows appear to linger even at midday when the building is fully lit. 3 staircases connect the 4 floors. One of them houses the original lift mechanism, a wrought iron cage elevator installed in the 1800s that stopped functioning over a century ago and has never been removed. Multiple independent visitors to this property at different times and in different seasons have reported hearing footsteps on that staircase when no one is on it. The 5-acre grounds include a dark pond on the northern edge that local records indicate has never fully frozen, even during Scottish winters severe enough to ice over every other body of water in the surrounding area. There is also, on the western grounds, a single palm tree, thriving, in Scotland. Botanists attribute it to a Gulf Stream microclimate effect. Everyone else who has spent time on these grounds offers a different explanation and tends not to elaborate. Orchardon Castle has been documented on YouTube. Multiple full walkthrough videos exist. I recommend watching them before you decide what you think about this property. It is currently listed. The previous owners are more than ready to part with it. The question, as always, is whether you are ready to take it. Listing 2. Villisca Axe Murder House, Iowa. I want to be careful with this next one, because everything we just saw, the cold spots, the footsteps, the atmospheric unease, that is the kind of thing reasonable people can debate. This one is different. This one has a body count. Look at this house. It is, by every external measure, completely ordinary. A white wood frame home. A quiet street. A small Midwestern town. On the night of June 9th, 1912, 8 people were murdered inside this house while they slept. Josiah Moore, his wife Sarah, their 4 children, Herman, Mary Catherine, Arthur, and Paul, the youngest of whom was just 5 years old, and 2 overnight guests, sisters named Lena and Ina Stillinger. All 8. Killed with an axe, in their beds. The investigation that followed was one of the most extensively documented murder cases in Iowa history. Multiple suspects were named. Multiple trials were held. Confessions were made and then recanted. The killer was never identified. The case was never officially closed. The Villisca house has since been a private residence, a rental, a museum, and a paranormal investigation destination. It has changed hands multiple times, and in every single version of its existence since 1912, renters, investigators, overnight guests, and researchers have reported the same categories of experience. Shadow figures, specifically in the children's bedroom, reported independently by people who had no prior knowledge of which room the children slept in. Objects displaced between visits, in a locked building, and a sound, reported consistently by people who have spent the night here, described as something being dragged slowly across a wooden floor. The Villisca house is the most documented property of its kind in America. Dozens of YouTube investigation videos exist. The footage is consistent in a way that is difficult to dismiss. It is available for overnight stays. It has been listed for private sale. A guest who stayed overnight in 2014 left a review that is still live on the booking platform. It says only, "We left at 2 a.m. We don't talk about what happened. 5 stars. Listing 3, the Pokegama Sanatorium, Minnesota. This next listing went viral, not on a true crime forum, not on a paranormal investigation channel, on Zillow. When this property appeared on Zillow in December of 2023, it immediately started spreading across TikTok, Reddit, and Twitter. Newsweek covered it. Hundreds of thousands of people looked at the listing photos, and I want you to understand, the listing photos alone are enough to explain why. What you're looking at is a 119-year-old building on Pokegama Lake Road in Pine City, Minnesota. It sits among mature trees with, and this is a direct quote from the listing, "beautiful views of the popular Pokegama Lake." Beautiful views. It was built in 1905. Not as a home. Not as a hotel. Not as a school. It was built as a sanatorium. Specifically, a tuberculosis sanatorium. A facility designed to house patients with one of the most feared, most contagious, and most lethal diseases of the early 20th century. The Pokegama Sanatorium had space for 36 patients. They paid between $30 and $50 per week to stay here, significant money at the time, and they came because this was considered one of the last options available to them. Fresh air, isolation, lake views, and for many of them, this building was the last place they ever saw. The sanatorium operated until 1943. After it closed, the property was purchased by the Redemptorist Fathers and converted into a school for priests. The priests eventually left too. Since then, the building has sat 119 years old. Multiple lives, multiple purposes, multiple generations of people who came here and did not leave the way they intended. Look at these listing photos. Long institutional corridors, rooms stripped down to bare walls, ceilings that carry the stains and damage of a century of use. The bones of a building that processed human suffering at industrial scale and then was simply left. The listing describes the property as lying amongst mature trees with beautiful lake views and significant potential. It does not describe what happened in those rooms over 38 years of operation. It does not describe what was felt by the real estate agent who entered the building to photograph it. One TikTok creator who covered this listing noted in her video that she zoomed into several of the listing photos and found details that the standard Zillow thumbnail doesn't show you. Marks on walls, shadows in corridors, things in windows that the listing makes no attempt to explain. Her video got millions of views. The listing was posted December 6th, 2023. Shortly after, the status changed to pending sale. Somewhere, there is a person who looked at those photos, read that description, thought about what happened in that building for nearly 4 decades, and made an offer. The sale price has not been publicly disclosed. The new owner has not made any public statements. The building is still standing on Pokegama Lake Road, and the lake views, according to the listing, are beautiful. Listing 4, Lizzie Borden's Maplecroft Mansion, Massachusetts, listed at $890,000, fully photographed, images and YouTube footage available. This next property has a Zillow listing that is one of the most remarkable I have ever read. Not because of what it says, but because of what it very specifically, very deliberately does not say. 306 French Street, Fall River, Massachusetts. A 3,935 square foot Queen Anne Victorian mansion built in 1887. 7 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, 6 fireplaces, walnut wainscoting, coffered ceilings, inlaid parquet floors, stained glass windows, listed at $890,000 and offered fully furnished with period antiques. The Zillow listing for this property includes one sentence that no standard real estate listing would ever need to include. It says, and I'm quoting directly from the listing, "Not the house where the murders happened." This is the home of Lizzie Borden. Specifically, it is the home where Lizzie Borden lived out the remaining 34 years of her life after she was acquitted of using a hatchet to kill her father and stepmother in 1892. She named the property Maplecroft. She had that name chiseled into the front steps of the house. It is still there today, visible in the listing photos. She lived here from 1893 until her death in 1927. She died inside this house. Her funeral was held inside these rooms. She was 66 years old. The property has been fully restored to its Victorian grandeur. Every room is documented in listing photographs. The walnut staircase, the original fireplace mantles, the parlor where Lizzie Borden entertained her very few visitors in the decades after her trial. The listing agent confirmed to the Boston Globe that the home was being sold as is, fully furnished, exactly as you see it in the photographs. Previous owners invested $200,000 in improvements. They had intended to turn it into a bed and breakfast. Then COVID hit. Then the building code requirements escalated. Then the owners decided to retire. Then they listed it on Zillow. The listing specifically urgently clarifies that this is not the house where the murders happened, because apparently, in the case of a Lizzie Borden property, that is information prospective buyers require. The question of whether something of Lizzie Borden's 34-year residency remained in those walls after her death, that the listing does not address. Listing 5, the Lemp Mansion, St. Louis, Missouri. This next property has a story that I want you to really sit with, because it is not about one tragedy. It is not about one event, one night, one crime. It is about a family that over the course of 46 years destroyed itself, slowly, deliberately, one room at a time. 3322 DeMental Place, St. Louis, Missouri, the Lemp Mansion. Built in the 1860s. Purchased in 1876 by William J. Lemp, one of the most powerful men in the city. His brewery was the largest in St. Louis. His family was among the wealthiest in Missouri. His home was a symbol of everything the American dream was supposed to deliver. And then it all came apart. Not at once. That is what makes this story different from everything else on this list. It came apart slowly over nearly 5 decades. 4 suicides, same family, same building. It started in 1904. William Lemp Sr. walked into his office inside this house. That office still exists, you can stand in it today, and shot himself in the head. No note, no warning, no explanation that anyone has ever been able to confirm. His son William Lemp Jr. took over the family business. He tried to hold it together. He failed. Prohibition destroyed what was left of the brewery. In 1922, he sold it at auction for pennies on the dollar. In 1922, William Jr. walked into the same office where his father had died and shot himself in the same room. His sister Elsa, described at the time as the wealthiest heiress in St. Louis, died by suicide the same year. Not in the mansion, but the pattern was already clear. The last of the Lemp family to live in this house was Charles. Reclusive, eccentric. He had lived here alone for years by the time 1949 arrived. Charles Lemp died by suicide in his bedroom upstairs. The year was 1949. The family line effectively ended there. The mansion was sold. It became a boarding house. It deteriorated. Tenants reported things, knocking, footsteps, sounds with no source, and left. The boarding house struggled to stay occupied. In 1975, a family called the Pointers bought it and began renovating it into a restaurant and inn. The workers hired for the renovation, and this is documented in multiple accounts from the period, regularly left the job site without finishing their shifts and refused to return. Tools vanished. Sounds came from empty rooms. The feeling of being watched, reported consistently by people with no prior knowledge of the building's history. Today, the Lemp Mansion operates as a restaurant, a bed and breakfast, and a paranormal investigation site. It has been featured on Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, and has been declared by Life magazine as one of the 10 most haunted places in the United States. The reports from staff and guests are consistent: glasses flying from tables and shattering against walls, doors slamming in empty hallways, a piano playing in a room with no piano, the figure of a man seen peering over stalls in the women's bathroom, a room that was once William Lemp Jr.'s private domain, and the attic. William Lemp Jr. had a son, illegitimate, born with Down syndrome, kept hidden from public view his entire life, locked in the attic of this mansion. Never acknowledged, never named in any public record. Staff and investigators who spend time in that attic report a presence, a child's presence. Ghost investigators leave toys in the attic room, draw a circle around them, and return the next morning. The toys are consistently found outside the circle. The Lemp Mansion is listed on real estate platforms. It has changed hands. It is available for overnight stays. You can book a room right now and sleep inside these walls. People do, regularly, and every single one of them, every guest, every investigator, every staff member who has worked a late shift in this building, reports the same thing when you ask them what it feels like inside the Lemp Mansion after dark. They say it feels occupied. It has always felt occupied. And given everything that happened inside those walls, maybe it is. Our final listing today is one that I want to spend a moment setting up correctly, because this house is famous for something it never actually was. This house is in Toms River, New Jersey. It is the house used as a filming location for the 1979 movie The Amityville Horror, the film that depicted the Lutz family's 28-day ordeal in the actual Amityville house we covered earlier. The production couldn't film at the real house on Long Island. The owners at the time were suing the author and the filmmakers. So they found a house in Toms River, New Jersey that had the same Dutch colonial silhouette, and they filmed there instead. This house, right here, was seen by millions of people as the Amityville Horror House. It was listed in late 2022 for $7,700,000 for a house that has never had a murder, never had a documented paranormal event, never had anything happen inside it except a film crew shooting for a few weeks in 1978. The listing described it as a 4-level home with 4 bedrooms, a custom kitchen, a fully finished basement with a wet bar, water views, an in-ground pool, and a spa. It sold in January 2023 for $1,460,000, about $240,000 below asking. Now, here is the part of this listing that I cannot stop thinking about. The buyers who purchased this house, who paid $1.4 million for a home whose entire market value rests on its association with a horror film about a real murder house, chose to remain completely anonymous. The sale records list no names. The new owners have made no public statements. The house has gone quiet. I want you to think about that for a moment. You are wealthy enough to spend $1.5 million on a house. Of all the houses available at that price, in New Jersey in 2023, you choose the one that is famous specifically because it was used to represent the most notorious haunted murder house in American history. And then you make yourself completely anonymous. I don't know what that means, but I find it interesting. Every listing you saw today is real. Real addresses, real listing agents, real price histories on Zillow that you can go look at right now after this video ends. And here's what I keep coming back to every time I research one of these. Right now, at this moment, while you're watching this, these houses exist. They are standing. Some of them have new owners inside them right now. Owners who made the decision, for whatever reason, that the history was worth the price. Somewhere, there is a person sleeping in a room at 92 2nd Street in Fall River, Massachusetts tonight. Voluntarily. Having paid for the privilege. Somewhere, the new owners of the Toms River Film House are in their custom kitchen, looking out at the water, doing whatever it is that people do when they've spent $1.4 million on a house they know is anonymous on purpose. And somewhere on a Scottish coastline, in a 40-room castle with 30 fireplaces and one inexplicable palm tree, something is walking on an eastern staircase. If you want more of these, the real listings, the real histories, the real price drops that make no sense unless you know what the market already knows, subscribe. I find new ones every week.